Finally, for step 10, let's put it all together in a step-by-step implementation plan. Remember, this isn't theoretical. This exact approach has turned failing students into comfortable passes consistently. Let me share exactly how to implement everything that we've covered to virtually guarantee you pass step 1. Remember, this isn't theoretical. We've used this exact approach to help students who were previously failing comfortably pass consistently. Week 1, you want to just make sure that what you're doing is going to work. For this, you want to identify your specific micro skill weaknesses and gaps in knowledge using error analysis. A good topic to start with is coronary artery disease. The reason for this is that you don't have to know a lot of other knowledge of other systems in order to understand it. We'll learn all of the relevant information in first aid about this material and make flashcards on it. When you make the flashcards, make sure that you're making good connections between cards and actually using the flashcards to reinforce fundamental principles. Then do UWorld in 5 or 10 question increments. Practice the context, chronology, severity framework, and especially standalone questions. Remember, the goal is to get 80 or 90% on 10 consecutive questions. Once you've done this once, ideally within the first week, you can do this for 2 or even 3 subtopics. By the 3rd subtopic, try and add time to it. In week 2, try to master an entire system. For example, if I'd already mastered 3 different subtopics in cardiology, then I might do an entire system like all of cardiology. For this, you want to do 10 questions at a time, and you want to get 80% on 20 consecutive questions. You're going to uncover a lot of subtopic weaknesses. For this, continue to find the relevant first aid page and master the entire page, making cards on this before it is that you move on. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but the most consistent finding that we see is that the students that are making cards on the entire first aid page tend to move much faster through the content, in large part because they're anticipating the questions that they're going to be missing in the future, as opposed to just reacting to the questions when they get them wrong. Continue to keep a daily log of your improvements and your challenges. An aggressive goal would be to get through all of cardiology by the end of week 2, but if it takes you a little bit longer, that's okay. Remember, it's important that you can prove that your studying is working before you then go on and try to do a bunch more questions. Once you can get 80% on one system, you're going to want to move on to the next system. Typically, a good next system would be something like pulmonology or nephrology, because those systems have a lot of connections with the heart, which you would have just learned. So next, I want to share with you exactly how to implement everything that we've covered to virtually guarantee that you're going to pass your step 1. I've laid this out with 5 milestones that you're going to want to make sure that you hit. Remember, you want to hit all of these milestones in this order. This is the best way to make sure that you're not going to get to the end of your studying and figure out, oh my gosh, this didn't work. I've got to go back and start all over. So milestone 1 is subtopic mastery. This is going to be untimed. Your goal is to get 80% on one subtopic. Remember, I recommend coronary artery disease just to start, just because it's a topic that you can learn all the knowledge for in a relatively short period of time. While you're using this, I want you to focus on micro skills and error analysis so that you can build your process. Once you've done this and gotten 80% on 10 consecutive questions for one subtopic, now you want to do it for more. So next, milestone 2 is that you want subtopic mastery where it's both timed and repeated. So you want to get 80% on 3 or more subtopics. One of those should be reviewed in less than 48 hours. Now, if your reviewing takes longer than 48 hours, it's often going to be due to a lack of card creation or poor anticipation of misses. In other words, it happens when people don't learn all of the information in first aid about that topic before they move on to the next subtopic block. For milestone 3, this is system mastery, and this is going to be timed. You want to get 80% on a full system. So if I've just been doing cardiology subtopics, I want to get 80% on 20 consecutive timed cardiology questions. This proves that you can apply your approach across a broader domain, and in addition, it also proves that your cards must be working reasonably well, since at this point, you're more likely to have forgotten the things that you may have learned the week before if you didn't use cards correctly. Milestone 4 is doing multiple system mastery. This is where you're going to get 80% on 3 or more full systems. So if you've studied cardio, and then you've done renal, and then you've done GI, you want to get 80% on 20 timed questions from all of those systems mixed together. Milestone 5 is full mixed block mastery. You want to get 80% on fully mixed blocks. Now, this should be 20 or more questions timed, and this is going to confirm that your skills are actually scaling across content. At this point, if you've hit all the milestones, you should see significant improvements in your NBMEs. If you're a medical student or a doctor preparing for either the USMLEs or COMLEX or one of your medical board exams, then be sure to sign up for our free 14-step program where we'll walk you through the most efficient ways for you to improve your score in a short period of time. And if you're interested in getting there faster, be sure to book a free call with our team where we'll break down what it is that's holding you back and, if it makes sense, explain how it is that we can help you to get there more efficiently.